Chris and Joe Show, KTAR News. Pleasure being with you here today. We have a very special guest in the studio, and we were just discussing off air. It's been a while since I've had a chance to talk with Erika Pillsbury, who was Mercedes Vega's mother. And if you're unfamiliar with the name, we talked with Erika a while back because Mercedes was, and I know I hate to do this, I know how difficult this is. She was brutally murdered a little over a year and a half ago. And it has been a long time that you've been seeking justice for Mercedes, and it's starting to feel like maybe there's a little bit of momentum. So we want to talk a bit about this arrest of a 22-year-old out of Tennessee. We want to talk a little bit about that. Want to go back and kind of review the process and how long it's been and what the struggle was for you along the way. And again, thank you so much, because I know how painful this is for you, and God bless you for being such an advocate and taking up the mantle and not laying down and being quiet. My God, it would be so easy for someone to say, I'll just let the police take care of it. You said, no, I got to make sure the police do not forget this. God bless you for that. Thank you so much for coming back in.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk briefly here about the news that we got this week. An arrest is made. I'd never heard of the guy. I went immediately to Facebook to see if I could figure out who this fellow was. 22-year-old Sincere Hayes, who also spells his name incorrectly. So Sincere Hayes is the gentleman arrested in connection with your daughter's murder.
I don't appreciate the word gentleman, but yes.
Okay. So
we
arrested.
find out about it on Monday, but it seems like charges were filed a week before. But Chris, you reached out to me on Monday the 18th and said, hey, it looks like we've got an update. You know, they've arrested somebody in connection with the murder of Mercedes Vega. So you get a call when, Erika? You get a call on Monday the 18th, or you get a call at some point?
On the 11th.
On the 11th.
Oh, so you knew. Okay.
11/11.
And somebody tells you, hey, we've made an arrest in Tennessee?
I received a call from the detective, the one that has been dealing with her case, the detective here in Arizona. And he asked me, are you by yourself? And I said, yeah. And he said, get your husband on the phone. And I called my husband, and we put it on three-way, and he said, we got him.
What was your reaction? I mean, how did...
I said, what? What do you mean? He said, we got him. He's in custody.
Did you know that they were onto somebody, or that they were looking at making an arrest? I know they have to play things close to their vests too, but how far along did you know their investigation was?
It was a shock. No, they do play things very close to the vest, and I was not expecting that phone call at that moment. And they normally don't call me anyway, but when I got the call, and it was from a blocked number, and he said, Erika, and I said, oh, detective. I recognize his voice, and he asked me if I was by myself.
Yep.
And he said, where's Tom? And I said, he said, get him on the phone. And I just felt myself just taking this huge sigh of like, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go. What did you, there must have been this incredibly strange moment when you're trying to get a hold of your husband on the three-way call, and you're thinking, what could this possibly be? And in your mind, you're thinking, well, maybe they've got someone. But what else might you be thinking? Are they letting it go? Is this moved into cold case?
Gosh,
all of these different things. You didn't think so.
No.
Okay.
He wouldn't have called me for that.
You think they would have just ghosted you?
I probably can count on one hand how many times I've received a call from the detective.
Okay.
And that's going back to mid-April of last year.
Yeah, that's 19 months ago.
Wow.
And when he said that, I almost hit my knees because I thought, here we go. And my husband, I called him. He answered on the first ring. Never does that. I said, I don't care what you're doing. The detective's on the phone. I need you to step outside. And then we got together a three-way call, and he said, he said, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Tom,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Erika? Yeah, yeah." And then he said, "We got him."
So to go back here, April 2023, most horrific time in your life as you find out that your daughter had been taken, had been murdered, and then all of a sudden you're trying to pick up the pieces and figure out what goes on. I don't want to get too much into the details. It was a high profile case, and people that want to know can simply Google that. It's easy enough. And I don't want to, I don't like doing what we have to do in radio. It's called a reset, where we tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't like dragging you through that. Suffice to say, your daughter is not with you. It was a horrible story, and now you've been able to turn the page to the next chapter. Is that fair?
Halfway.
Okay.
And it's been 19 months, and you've been to court now for one individual tied to something that happened to her 4 years ago now, when she was
Over 4 years ago.
assaulted.
October 2020.
And when she had left her job very early in the morning, very late at night. And you've been to court to deal with that individual,
Yes.
somebody who she identified in a photo lineup and said, "Hey, this is the guy who assaulted
Not
me."
only in a photo lineup, but when she spotted him in public, she also identified him.
Has this
So that's the guy.
visceral look and knows that's the guy who
She-
did this to
yep.
me.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Who is not this guy who was
Who
arrested.
is not
and that's key here, because the last time we spoke with you, you said, well, I think that this robbery situation is probably connected somehow.
correct?
You still think that they're connected I mean, different guys. Tell me about the connection.
Well, Cujo Young, who's accused of robbing Mercedes, and she was working with the investigators and the police. And Mercedes is extremely articulate and not quiet, and was willing to put herself out there, and was going to stand up at that, trial and face him, and not afraid to. And he lived 12 miles away from Sancerre Hayes, who was just arrested for Mercedes murder
back
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
In Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yes.
That's too great a coincidence to not be related. Well, we'll get a little bit more on that. Now that we've kind of refreshed the story on Mercedes Vega's life and her tragic death, what does the process look like from behind the scenes when, now that your daughter's alleged killer is finally in custody? Because you've had over a week now to process this. As you said, you knew before we did in media, I got to find out what this last week has been like. That is next on the Chris and Joe Show, KTAR News. April of 2023, Mercedes Vega was taken from us. She was a beautiful young lady, lived in Tempe, and then her body was found in a burning car in Tonopah. And in the studio with us right now is her mother, Erika Pillsbury, who joins us again after there's been an update on that murder, as an arrest was made in that murder of a young man in Tennessee, who coincidentally happened to live only 12 miles away from another young man in Tennessee, who it sounds like is the guy that robbed Mercedes prior to that, year prior to that. Was it a year, 2 years
About
prior?
4+ years.
4+ years. Okay. So, and Mercedes had been identifying this guy, and that's the one that did it, and this sort of thing. And now here we are. All of a sudden, she winds up dead. We appreciate everyone that's checking in and listening to the Chris and Joe Show, and an update on the arrest now of the alleged killer of Mercedes Vega. We appreciate everybody listening to the Chris and Joe Show, and a shout out to our friends in Buckeye as well. Appreciate you listening to KTAR in Buckeye. This arrest comes more than a week ago. It was on the 11th, Monday the 11th, right? And then you get a call as soon as the arrest, and the guy is in custody. The detectives call you and your husband, and they say, "Got him." Immediately, I'm guessing the range of emotions is your heart must have sank. Thought, "Oh my God, this is it." And then, what else do you start thinking? Are there more? What's next? What do I need to do? I mean, you've been such an advocate and really, keeping on detectives and law enforcement all the time. I mean, what goes through your head as far as this next phase, which immediately started?
My first thought was, finally. My second thought was, we have a long way to go from here. And we've already been through this for 19 months, and it's been hell. It's been so hard. And then not knowing and then not having an arrest has been so difficult. And now now I'm like, well, I have to change my focus. I have to, and then who is this person and why? Yeah. And let me, find out everything I can and see what I can come up with. And I want to do everything I can for my child and for justice for her, because she didn't deserve this. And one of the most terrifying things that I realized in that moment was that she didn't know him.
Oh.
So you get this call on November 11th that Sincere Hayes is arrested in jail in Chattanooga. Any idea why detectives wait a week later until the 18th, this Monday, to announce the murder charge?
I'm not sure why. I wish I could get into their brains and their
Had
files.
they told you, hey, we're telling you today, but we're going to wait a few days to tell the public?
Yeah, they told us that they were planning on announcing it, and we thought it was maybe going to be the following Thursday. But some media had gotten hold of it, and we had 15 minutes to prepare once it was released.
Yeah.
And my husband and I were putting together the Christmas tree in the front room, and we had media calling and saying, hey, we're coming over. We just heard there's an arrest, or it's going to be. And actually, we had somebody tell us it's going to be announced in 15 minutes. Ooh. And then as soon as that hit, our phones just started ringing and ringing and ringing. When we found out, we had about a week, but we didn't. I mean,
like you said, you start digging, investigating, trying to learn everything you can.
Couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
We couldn't find anything. But we weren't spelling it correctly. We didn't.
I told you he spells his name wrong, right? It's Sincere with a S-E, which is weird. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was trying every different way. I've got papers that I had written, of every way you could possibly spell it. And still now today, if you try to look him up, it's hard to find information on him.
So
I know, I did. I tried. Yeah. It was tough.
Detectives have also said the first of several arrests expected in your daughter's case.
Yes.
Now, Chris, you, myself have talked before about, we speculated there had to be more than one person involved based on cars that were moving around, based on how we have roughly pieced together that this happened. But the first of several arrests, what do you know there?
So we know that there were two people, and I've never mentioned this before, and my husband has, but caught on camera dropping off her vehicle in downtown Tempe and getting into the 2018 Chevy Malibu.
That was near that culinary dropout in Tempe?
Yes, on Farmer Avenue, just behind it.
Where her car was found.
Her car was found.
Yeah.
And getting into the 2018 Chevy Malibu that she was found burned
out in Tonopah.
In Tonopah. So there's at least two people there, and then there's someone driving that vehicle.
So that's three people.
And then somewhere Mercedes is there. And that somebody probably had to tip off that she was actually leaving. So we know there's several different people involved. We know there's someone in custody here in Arizona that the police are planning on charging. That's what they told us. And so we are looking forward to that.
So you say somebody here in Arizona who police are going to be charging, and you're looking forward to that. Is that the individual is that Cujo Young, who was accused of assaulting your daughter?
Absolutely. It's Cujo Young.
No.
And again, I mean, even as a casual observer, we didn't have to be in the detective's room to know that those two were related somehow. That they were both 12 miles apart in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and both had some sort of an interaction with your daughter, Mercedes Vega. Erika Pillsbury joining us right now. Mercedes was murdered 19 months ago, and the backstory, of course. In fact, you told us back in July that you thought that it was related to this robbery case, this assault, whatever, the mugging that happened 4 years prior. You thought that there was a relationship there. It certainly looks like you were prescient on that. You were right on the money on that one. So now, what does the immediate future look like? We may have a charge coming with the person here in Arizona. May have more charges coming in. Have the detectives told you anything about a timeline? I know there's going to be an extradition of this guy from Tennessee, and I think he's
waived his rights to get back here.
Okay, so he's coming back then.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know? I mean, is this something that's going to drag out for another couple of years? My God, we've seen some of these cases take forever, and you've already been tortured long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope not. I don't know if it's a sign that he waived his rights to, fight it and come back. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. In fact, in some ways, it frightens me a little bit. Why are you so eager to come back here? Mm-hmm. But I also know that this kid is really young, and there had to be there's so much more influence. There's so much more information on this that we don't know. That there's so many different connections and things that we know that it's there, but we don't know what it is.
Do you have investigators told you, do they have their case put together and they're just trying to, dot some I's, cross some T's, find these individuals, or charge them, arrest them? Or are they counting on some of these individuals to roll on each other and spill some details and perhaps try to cut some better deals or whatever that may be for them?
I'm not sure what their thought process is on all of this. I know that, like I said, it does worry me a little bit how quickly he rolled, and he's very young, and maybe
Mr. Hayes in Tennessee.
Mr. Hayes.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Hayes.
Yeah.
Mr. Hayes in Tennessee, who will shortly be here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Because he waived anything fighting the extradition. And he will be here, I'm not sure where, and he will be charged with the charges of capital murder et al. So in inclusion with others as well. We were told that he was a major player in Mercedes murder. He's not the only player in Mercedes murder. We are under the assumption that he was found through DNA, and we're hoping this doesn't drag out, and that maybe he'll sing like a canary. I don't think he will. He might, but that's probably detrimental to him and the society that they live in,
and especially where he's headed.
And where he's headed.
Yeah. Do you have a final question here? Erika Pillsbury, the mother of Mercedes Vega, who was a victim of murder here 19 months ago. The last time we spoke with you, you had some issues with some law enforcement. The right hand didn't seem to know what the left hand was doing. You got phone calls asking for your daughter because of who, of course, had been murdered, and you had detectives calling to say, "Hey, is Mercedes there?" Which blows my mind. I can't even believe somebody would rip open a wound like that simply because they didn't get the memo from the other department. It sounded like, but now you get this phone call out of the blue that says, "We got somebody." Do you have more faith now in the investigators? Do you feel like things have sort of gelled where they took a while to get there, but maybe now they've gelled better?
I have faith in one of the investigators.
Okay.
I don't think there's any gelling going on within the departments. I don't think that they communicate properly. I don't think that they give information that they should to other people. When I get a phone call a year and 2 months after my daughter was murdered asking to speak to my daughter out of the same, Maricopa County, that makes no sense.
No, I agree.
who ties your shoes in the morning, like I said before. But I'm hoping, and I kind of just decided to sit back, and I told the detective, I said, I'm leaving this in your hands. This was about a month and a half ago. I'm leaving this in your hands and my daughter's hands. And I'm not gonna keep pushing. I'm not gonna keep trying. And this came to fruition, and it was maybe the best thing I could have done for myself for that moment. But they were still working, and that showed me they were still working. And it gave me a little bit of pride in the Maricopa County Detectives Division, at least. I know they're working hard. And I know that they're doing what they can, and that they have done. And he's been great these last couple of weeks, letting us know in advance.
God bless you. What a great mom. Who's your daughter? You say, forget it. I'm not going to sit back. My daughter's memory will not go unnoticed. Your courage it amazes me. It inspires me. Thank you so much for coming in again, Erika Pillsbury, the mother of Mercedes Vega. So proud to have you in the studio with us. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe, and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.